Let me share something with you that's going to challenge everything you've been taught about relationships. She doesn't want you to talk to her, not because she doesn't like you, not because she's not interested, but because your words are destroying the very thing she needs to stay attracted to you. I know that sounds insane. We've been conditioned to believe that communication is the foundation of connection, that the more we share, the closer we become, that being available and open and expressive is what women want from men. But here's what nobody tells you. Her attraction doesn't run on logic, it runs on feeling, and the feeling that keeps her obsessed, that keeps her thinking about you, that makes her crave your presence. That feeling is born in silence, not in words. Every time you text her throughout the day, every time you call just to check in, every time you share what you're thinking before she has a chance to wonder, you're not building connection, you're removing tension, you're deleting the mystery, you're eliminating the very thing her nervous system needs to stay captivated. The counterintuitive truth is this: she needs to not know what you're thinking far more than she needs to hear what you're thinking. Her attraction lives in the gaps, in the pauses, in the spaces between your words where her imagination takes over and creates a version of you that's more compelling than anything you could ever say. And when you fill those gaps with constant communication, you rob her of the feeling that makes her fall deeper. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why this works, what's happening in her psychology, and how you can stop destroying attraction with your words and start building it with your stillness. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface of attraction. When a woman meets a man she's interested in, her mind does something fascinating. It starts constructing, it starts imagining, it starts filling in the blanks about who he is, what he's thinking, what his life looks like, what it would feel like to be part of his world. This construction process is where her attraction deepens, not from facts, not from information you provide, but from the stories she creates in the absence of information. When you're quiet, when you're unreadable, when there are gaps in her knowledge of you, her imagination does work that no amount of talking could ever accomplish. She assigns depth to your silence. She assumes your mystery means there's more to discover. She creates narratives about your thoughts that are probably more interesting than your actual thoughts. And here's the key: she becomes emotionally invested in her own creation. But the moment you start explaining yourself, the moment you fill every silence with words, you destroy the construction zone. You replace her fascinating imagination with your mundane reality. You take away the blank canvas and hand her a completed picture. And completed pictures don't invite exploration. They don't create curiosity. They don't make her want to know more. This is why the man who talks too much becomes forgettable, while the man who talks too little becomes unforgettable. It's not about the quality of your words. It's about the space you leave for her mind to work. Let me explain something about feminine psychology that most men never grasp. Women don't bond the way we do. Men bond through consistency, reliability, shared experience, loyalty. We feel closer to someone the more time we spend with them, the more conversations we have, the more we know about each other. Women bond through tension. Tension is uncertainty. Tension is anticipation. Tension is the emotional charge that exists when she's not quite sure where she stands, what you're thinking, or whether you're fully captured. When you remove that tension through constant communication, you remove the emotional charge that attraction runs on. Think about it. Every time you text her good morning, you're answering a question she didn't get to ask. Every time you tell her what you're doing, you're solving a mystery she didn't get to explore. Every time you're immediately available, you're removing the anticipation of when she might hear from you. And without anticipation, attraction flatlines. This is why she seems more interested during the early stages when there's natural uncertainty, and less interested once you've established a pattern of constant presence. The uncertainty was doing the work. Your availability ended it. She needs to wonder about you. She needs to feel slightly unsure. She needs the emotional challenge of not having complete access to your thoughts and attention. When you give her complete access, you give away your power. And attraction requires polarity. It requires tension. It requires something to lean into, to chase, to crave. Your words collapse that distance. Your silence maintains it. Now here's where this gets really interesting, because what I'm about to explain is the mechanism that makes her obsessed, and most men completely misunderstand it. What happens in her mind during your silence is more powerful than anything you could ever say out loud. Stay with me. When you go quiet, something specific happens in her psychology. Her mind, which craves closure, which wants to understand, which needs to make sense of emotional situations, goes into overdrive. She starts asking herself questions. What is he doing right now? Why hasn't he texted? Is he thinking about me? Is he with someone else? Did I say something wrong? These questions might sound negative, but they're not. They're the engine of obsession, because in asking these questions, she's thinking about you. She's mentally engaged with you even though you're not present. She's creating emotional investment through her own psychological process. And here's the paradox. She'll spend more mental energy thinking about your silence than she would thinking about your words. If you text her 10 times today, each text is processed and forgotten. It's just information. It doesn't linger. But if you don't text at all, she'll check her phone repeatedly. She'll reread your last message. She'll analyze your patterns. She'll tell her friends she doesn't know what you're thinking. And all of that mental activity, it's bonding her to you, not through your effort, through hers. She's investing her own psychological resources into you, and we value what we invest in. This is the obsession factory. Your silence makes her mind work, and that work creates attachment far more powerful than your words ever could. Let me flip the script for a moment. Think about how you feel when someone is constantly available, when they respond instantly to every message, when they always initiate, when you know exactly where they are and what they're doing at all times. Do you feel excited, intrigued, captivated, or do you feel comfortable, safe, maybe even a little bored? Constant availability signals one thing to the subconscious. This person has nothing else going on. Right or wrong, that's how the brain interprets it. If someone is always available, they must not be in demand. If they're never hard to reach, they must not be valuable enough for others to be trying to reach them. Now imagine you're a woman receiving attention from multiple men. Which one captures your interest? The one who's always in your inbox, or the one who feels slightly out of reach? The answer is obvious. And it's not because she's shallow or playing games, it's because scarcity creates value in every marketplace, including the emotional one. When you're always communicating, always present, always filling her phone with your words, you signal unlimited availability. And unlimited availability translates to low perceived value. But when there are gaps, when she has to wait, when she's not sure when she'll hear from you, when your attention feels rare, each moment of your presence becomes an event rather than background noise. This is the availability penalty. Your constant presence costs you. Your strategic absence pays dividends. But here's where men get confused. They hear this and think they need to play games. They think silence is a manipulation tactic. That's not what this is about at all. What I'm about to explain is the difference between manipulation and masculine centeredness, and why one works long term while the other always backfires. Let me be clear about something important. The power of silence doesn't come from using it as a weapon. It comes from being genuinely centered in your own life. There's a massive difference between the man who doesn't text because he's playing games, and the man who doesn't text because he's genuinely engaged in his purpose, his work, his life. She can feel the difference instantly. The game player withholds attention as a tactic, but his energy is still oriented toward her. He's watching, he's calculating, he's performing non-availability rather than living it. The centered man isn't performing anything. He simply has a full life. His attention is genuinely on his mission, his growth, his world. He's not hard to reach as a strategy. He's hard to reach because he's actually doing things, and that authenticity is what creates the real attraction. When you have to manufacture scarcity, it's fragile. The moment you slip, the moment you reveal the game, the illusion breaks. But when scarcity is natural, when you genuinely don't have time to narrate your day through texts because you're living something worth doing, that creates permanent attraction. This is the distinction. Don't fake silence. Build a life so compelling that silence becomes natural. Don't pretend to be busy. Actually be busy. Don't calculate response times. Genuinely be engaged in something that matters more than your phone. When you do this, your silence carries weight. It's backed by substance, and she feels it. Most men in dating are performers. They craft texts carefully. They time responses strategically. They try to say the right thing, the witty thing, the thing that will get the best reaction. But here's what performing communicates. I need your approval. Every carefully crafted message says, I'm trying to impress you. Every quick response says, I'm waiting for you. Every long paragraph says, I need you to understand me. And while none of that is bad in isolation, the cumulative effect is devastating. She starts to feel like she's watching a show, like you're auditioning for her attention, like you're the one doing the chasing while she's the one doing the evaluating. That's the polarity killer. That's what makes her lose respect and attraction. The presence is different. The man who speaks less isn't performing. He's simply existing in his frame. He says what he means when there's something worth saying. He doesn't fill silence with filler. He doesn't over-explain to make sure she understands. His words have weight because they're rare. When he does text, it feels like an event. When he does call, it means something. When he does share, she leans in because she knows it's significant. That's the energy shift, from performer chasing attention to presence commanding it. And you can't fake this. You have to actually become the man who doesn't need to talk constantly, who doesn't require her reactions to feel validated, who is genuinely fulfilled without her responses. That's when your silence becomes magnetic. What I'm about to share next is something most men will never hear. It's the specific mechanism that explains why she remembers the quiet man forever while forgetting the communicative one almost immediately. This is about psychological imprinting and how to make yourself unforgettable. Think about the man she can't stop talking about, the one she compares every new guy to, the one who lives in her memory years after they stop talking. I guarantee you something. He wasn't the one texting her 10 times a day. He was the one who felt like a mystery, the one she never fully figured out, the one who showed interest but kept something back, the one whose silence made her wonder, why does that man become unforgettable? Because he never gave her the full story. And unfinished stories haunt us. They stay in our minds. They demand resolution that never comes. When you reveal everything, when you share every thought, explain every action, express every feeling, you complete the story. You give her closure, and closure means she can file you away and move on. But the man who holds something back, she never gets to file him. He stays in the open loop of her mind. She keeps returning to him psychologically, trying to understand, trying to complete the picture that he never let her finish. This is the power of restraint, not being cold, not being withholding in a punishing way, just being complete in yourself, not needing to spill everything to feel connected. You become a cliffhanger she never got resolution on. And years later, when she's scrolling through memories, it's not the guy who texted her every hour she remembers. It's the guy whose silence still echoes in her mind. Let me expose something uncomfortable. When you're constantly texting her, calling her, initiating conversations, you think you're showing interest, you think you're being romantic, you think you're communicating that you care, but here's what she actually receives. He needs this more than I do. Every time you reach out first, you're demonstrating that you're the one seeking connection. Every time you respond instantly, you're showing that you were waiting. Every time you overshare, you're revealing that you need her to understand you more than she needs to understand herself. And these signals accumulate. Over time, the message she receives isn't, he cares about me. It's, he depends on me. And dependency isn't attractive. It's pressure. She starts to feel like she has to manage your emotions, like she's responsible for your happiness, like your well-being is contingent on her responses. That's exhausting. That's the opposite of attraction. But when you speak less, when you can go a day without reaching out, when you don't immediately respond, when your life clearly continues with or without her reply, you communicate something far more attractive. I'm whole without you. That's not coldness. That's self-sufficiency. That's the signal that you're a complete person who would enjoy her presence but doesn't require it to function. And ironically, that's what makes her want to be present. Not obligation, not pressure, but genuine attraction to a man who is whole on his own. Here's where I want to go even deeper, because understanding the psychology isn't enough. You need to understand how to actually embody this. The next part is about transforming from the man who talks too much into the man who speaks only when it matters. So how do you actually do this? First, understand that this isn't about rules. It's not about waiting X hours before responding or limiting yourself to X texts per day. That's still performing. That's still game playing. The real shift is internal. You have to become genuinely full. Your life has to be so engaging, so purposeful, so demanding of your attention that you don't have the bandwidth to narrate it through texts. This means having things you're building, projects you're working on, goals you're pursuing, a mission that genuinely matters to you. When you have that, silence becomes natural. You're not manufacturing scarcity, you're genuinely focused on something other than your phone. Second, you have to break the addiction to feedback. Most men are addicted to her responses. They text and then wait anxiously. They measure their day by whether she replied warmly or coolly. They're emotionally dependent on her engagement. This is what you have to kill. You have to reach a place where you text something and genuinely don't care when or how she responds. Not because you're pretending not to care, because your self-worth isn't tied to her reply. This takes work. It takes building internal validation. It takes becoming so secure in who you are that her response is interesting but not essential. And when you get there, when you can send a message and then genuinely forget about it because you're engaged in your life, that's when your energy changes completely. She'll feel it. She'll feel that you don't need her to feel good, that your stability isn't contingent on her attention, and that's intoxicating. Let me give you a framework that changes everything. Stop thinking about quantity of communication. Start thinking about impact of communication. Most men believe that more communication equals more connection, but that's the wrong equation. The right equation is impact equals value, not volume. One message that makes her feel something is worth more than 20 messages that simply fill time. One phone call that's engaging and ends while she still wants more is worth more than 10 calls that drag on until she's looking for an excuse to hang up. When you speak less, every word carries more weight. Think about the people whose opinions you value most. Are they the ones who talk constantly, or are they the ones who speak rarely but meaningfully? It's always the second. Scarcity creates significance. When you become the man who doesn't waste words, your words become precious. She listens more carefully because she knows you don't speak frivolously. She values your attention more because she knows you don't give it easily. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being selective. It's about speaking from substance rather than from need. And that selectivity makes every moment of your engagement an event, not background noise, an event. Let me leave you with the most important part. The transformation that happens when you finally internalize everything I've shared. This is about becoming the man whose silence speaks louder than other men's words. Here's what I want you to understand. Your silence isn't a weakness, it's a superpower. In a world where every man is flooding her with attention, fighting for her inbox, trying to outtalk the competition, you become the anomaly by doing the opposite. You become the man who doesn't need to be heard to be felt. You become the presence she can't forget because you didn't give her enough to fully remember. You become the mystery she's still trying to solve while she's already forgotten the men who told her everything. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding that attraction operates on different rules than logic suggests. She doesn't want the man who explains himself. She wants the man she has to figure out. She doesn't want constant access. She wants the thrill of wondering when she'll hear from you. She doesn't want your words. She wants the feelings that arise in the absence of your words. And when you give her that, when you hold back not to punish but because you're genuinely complete without her constant engagement, something shifts. She starts leaning in. She starts initiating. She starts thinking about you more than she thinks about the men who are always in her face, because you've given her something rare, space to miss you. So speak less. Let the silences exist. Allow the gaps. Trust that your absence is doing work that your presence cannot. Not because you're cold, not because you don't care, because you understand something most men never will. Real attraction isn't built through words. It's built through the feelings that grow in the spaces between words. Your stillness is your power. Your mystery is your gift. Your Restraint is what separates you from the forgettable men who talk themselves out of her heart. Be the man whose silence echoes. Be the man she can't stop thinking about because she's still trying to figure out what you're thinking. Be the man who commands attention without demanding it. That's masculinity mastered, and that, brother, is what makes you unforgettable.